The gigantic secret, tracing the prints of our ancestors. Goliath, the biblical giant defeated against the odds by the shepherd. Atlas, the Greek giant who holds up the sky. Gentiles, the enormous pagans who inhabited the land before Christianity. Polyphemus, the one-eyed Cyclops, Homer's legend of the one-eyed giant that lived in Sicily with his similar companions. Oni, the Japanese legend of red or blue-skinned demons of gigantic stature. Orion, whose fatal wounds sent him into the stars as a giant constellation. The list is never-ending of mythological giants in our forgotten past, but why forget when we have proof? Large individuals were present, and by large I mean individuals ranging from at least 7 feet to 15 feet in height. There are many accounts of even taller humans, which we will soon discuss, considering that people in pre-modern times were generally shorter on average than contemporary individuals. These sizable humans would have undoubtedly appeared remarkably tall. Evidence supports the existence of an ancient race or races of giants spanning from China to North America. This is evident not only in the written records of various civilizations, but also in the archaeological findings, which we will look at today. Just in North America alone, countless mounds have been excavated that challenge the mainstream interpretation of dismissing them as genetic anomalies. The presence of giants in the past raises a perplexing question. If giants, as a distant race or races, once inhabited antiquity, why is there no evidence of their existence today? What led to their extinction, and why keep this from us? These are questions I would like for you to answer yourself. This channel was made to spark your curiosities into topics that wouldn't be discussed normally. I have my own thoughts. What are yours? Did you like my intro, or was it cool, or was it annoying? Because it's annoying to me. I mean, anything I make is pretty annoying to me, but I'm me. So just curious. I'll get better at it, I promise. But basically it is mostly of Indian mounds, and in the 1800s, early 1900s, they were digging in all of these Indian mounds that you see. I mean, you know, we know the more famous ones in Ohio and Alabama and Louisiana and Arkansas and all that stuff, but there's a lot more, a whole lot more. And you're driving by them every day and don't realize it. Some of you might be living on top of one. You don't even know. But basically what I'm doing here, again, is to just plant a seed, okay? You go out and look for yourself. Go to your state's archive of newspapers, type in giants, type in giant humans, type in mysterious bones, type in mysterious discovery, strange discovery. Type that in and see what you find. Gosh darn it. Alright. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and genitaliamen. As large as this. Okay. We're going to start small. We're kind of going to gradually get up, into the more, most of you will call insane, false, made up articles. Okay. Mr. W.M. Mundy, living in Llmi's Township, this county, showed us some large human bones found near the bank of the Kawatapapahajaha River. They were found in what is supposed to have been an Indian mound and must have belonged to larger sized men than are seen at the present day. Larger sized men. Okay. They were big. Cool. Found a giant's bones. Flintlock. They just went right for it. Flintlock of ancient pattern beside the skeleton. A.D. Brooks of Deer River, Minnesota, found near the outlet of the Deer River a flintlock gun worn by action of water until there is but little of it left. Beside it was a human skull and some of the larger bones of the body of a man who in life must have been of gigantic size. The bones were little more than dust and crumbled to pieces soon after being taken from their resting place. The stock of the gun is of carved black walnut and has cut in the one side the initials JH. Good old gigantic JH. He's a good jolly guy. Its barrel was badly bent and so eaten by rust that it was filled with holes. I gotta find those photos, but there's photos of guns that are found that are, I'm 6'3", almost 6'4". I mean, they were just like, you know, they were like 7 feet long. They're huge guns. And then, you know, there's books and there's all sorts of things that, you know, that people have found. It's not just bones that people find. It's like everyday items that are of gigantic, you know, stature. And that's what he found. He found a flintlock gun that was for this giant JH character. Okay, here we go. Ancient giant bones, another one, just went right for it. San Leandro, California, November 15th. While excavating gravel on his property 1 mile west of here the other day, Frank Williams unearthed human bones of remarkable size. Deputy Coroner Robert Morgan advised that they be sent to the University of California, where they disappeared. He estimated that the original owner of these bones was at least 7 feet high. Okay, 7 feet. You know, that's an NBA player. I keep wanting to say Shaq, but I said him on another video. So we'll do Llmi. Yeah, a lot of you youngins don't know who Llmi is, but he was pretty big. Alright. The bones of a giant found. St. Paul, Minnesota. May 24th, a skull of heroic size and singular formation has been discovered among the relics of the mound builders in the Red River Valley. The mound was 60 feet in diameter and 12 feet high. Near the center were found the bones of about a dozen men and women mixed with the bones of various animals. The skull in question was the only perfect one, and near it were found some abnormally large body bones. The man who bore it was evidently a giant. A thorough investigation of the mound and its contents will be made by the Historical Society, where it disappeared probably again. Okay. Sorry, I had to go to the restroom. It's been 5 hours or something. Yeah, I had to go do something. I bought a bike, actually, a mountain bike. So anyways, check out this book, Gene Reboots, Expedition to the New World. Jacques Le Monet is the artist in this book. It's the French explorers that went and explored the east coast of Florida and met the indigenous people there. This is just in the 1500s, guys. And, you know, as you can see, this guy's pretty big dude, but very interesting book. Some good nuggets in there. You're gonna have to translate it. Google Translate will do that for you. But just a little nugget. Okay, giant bones. Last week, Dr. Dugan exhibited in our office the lower jawbone of what may be called a one-time giant, the same having been exhumed in Grant County, south of Sheridan, by a party who were working the road, says the Benton Times Courier. The skeleton was perfectly preserved, although the indications were that the interment had been made hundreds of years ago. It was that of a person of about 7.5 feet tall, and from the shape of the skull, it was that of an Indian. So 7.5, we're still NBA, you know, but gets even bigger. This is from the book I was just talking about, that short story. Pretty big humans, pretty sad tales in this, as you can see. So just beware. Okay, here's another one. An ancient race. It is reported from Ohio that 13 human skeletons of an extinct race were found in the excavation for a cellar in that city recently, and the opinion is expressed that the hill on which the excavation was made is full of similar remains. A strange thing about the skeletons found was that the arm had all been broken between the elbow and the shoulder, and the thigh bones had also been broken. 2 of the skeletons were females and the rest were males. The females, when living, must have been taller than the average man of present day. The males must have been 7 or 8 feet tall. So now we're getting into some 8-footers. These were not the gentlemen, although there might have been. I don't know. That's what Canva AI, mapped out for me here. That guy is really scary. He has very lopsided nipples, and that alone would scare me. All right, from the short story, again, tall Indian right here. I've got a lot of other photos that are way better than this, but when I downloaded them, they're like this tiny, the little thumbnail ones, and I'm really pissed off because it was like a lot of them. So I'm going to figure out how to expand those, and we'll go through some of those. I'm going to keep this I think I'm going to just have this like a reoccurring, playlist of giants, okay? Of giants. Okay, more big Indians found in Virginia. Not to be behind Canada, Virginia puts in a claim of the possession of a cave full of dead Indians. The Petersburg Index giving the tale as quoted below on the authority of a gentleman who it asserts to be of the highest character and credit, who have seen with their own eyes and touched and tested with their own hands the wonderful object, or which they make report as follows. The workmen engaged in opening a way for the projected railroad between Weldon and Gettysburg struck Monday. About 1 mile from the former place, in a bank beside the river, a catacomb of skeletons, supposed to be those of Indians of a remote age and a lost and forgotten race. The bodies exhumed were of strange and remarkable formation. The skulls were nearly an inch in thickness. The teeth were filed sharp, as are those of cannibals, the enamel perfectly preserved. The bones were of wonderful length and strength, the femur being as long as the leg of an ordinary man, the stature of the body being probably as great as 8 or 9 feet. Near their heads were sharp stone arrows, stone mortars in which their corn was brayed, and the bowls of pipes apparently of soft soapstone. Marble soapstone, maybe? Maple? I don't know. The teeth of the skeletons are said to be as large as those of a horse. One of them has been brought to the city and presented to an officer of the Petersburg Railroad. The bodies were found closely packed together, laid there on her as it seemed. I can't. Sorry, this one's kind of hard to read. There was no discernible egress out of the mound. So, first off, these are some pretty ugly people. Okay, don't get offended. It's funny. Okay, great. 8 or 9 feet. The femur being as long as the leg of an ordinary man. The stature of the body being probably as great as 8 or 9 feet. Moving on. Some big old crocodiles in that short story. Yeah, that's terrifying. So not only big humans, there were big animals that... Okay. The Enchanted Mountain, so-called about 2 miles south of Brasstown, is tamed for the curiosity on its rocks. There are on several rocks a number of impressions resembling the tracks of turkeys, bears, horses, and human beings, as visible and perfect as they could be made on snow or sand. The latter were remarkable for having 6 toes each, one only excepted. By this, we must suppose the originals to have been the progeny of Titan or Anak. One of these tracks was very large, the length of the foot 16 inches, and the distance of the extremes of the outer toes 13 inches. That's a wide flat foot. One of the horse tracks was likewise of an uncommon size. The transverse and conjugate diameters were 8 by 10 inches, perhaps the horse which the great warrior rode. What appears the most in favor of their being the real tracks of the animals they represent is the circumstance of a horse's foot having apparently slipped several inches and recovered again, and the figures have all the same direction, like the trail of a company on a journey. If it if it be a Lucius nature, she never sported more seriously, basically meaning like an act of nature is what that means. So again, pretty big foot, 13 inches wide. My foot is like maybe 5 inches, 6 inches wide. Like, and I got a size 12 foot. So that's a big wide foot, dude. That's somebody that has been walking on bare feet for a very long time. Okay, interesting, right? Titan or Anak. By this, we must suppose the originals to have been the progeny of Titan or Anak. So, let me see if I can find this. The 6-toe deal, about them having 6 toes, there is a Bible verse that reads about this. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I think it's 2 Samuel 21:20. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, 6 toes. Yeah, he was as big as a giant and had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. So that is from the Bible. So the skeleton, 6 fingers, 6 toes, and double rows of teeth. That's also another article that I was reading. Double rows of teeth. Whew! Anyway, so 2 Samuel 21:20 is the verse. And it says, he was as big as a giant and had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Go ahead and look into it. So we're talking about some biblical references, if you know what I mean. Strange skeletons found, indications that tribe hitherto unknown once lived in Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin, the discovery of several skeletons of human beings while excavating a mound at Lake Delavan indicates that a heretofore unknown race of men once inhabited southern Wisconsin. The information of the discovery was brought to Madison today by Maurice Morrissey of Delavan, who came here to attend a meeting of the Republican State Central Committee. Curator Charles E. Brown of the State Historical Museum will investigate the discoveries within a few days. Upon opening one large mound at Lake Lawn Farm, 18 skeletons were discovered by the Phillips brothers. The heads, presumably those of men, are much larger than the heads of any race which inhabit America today. From directly over the eye sockets, the head slopes straight back, and the nasal bones protrude far above the cheekbones. The jawbones are long and pointed, bearing a minute resemblance to the head of the monkey. The teeth in the front of the jaw are regular molars. There were also found in the mounds the skeletons presumably of women, which had smaller heads but were similar in facial characteristics. The skeletons were embedded in charcoal and covered over with layers of baked clay to shed water from the sepulture. I'm telling you, there's some ugly giants out there. Unearthed skeleton of giant. Bones of supposed mound builder, those of man 8 or 9 feet high. Dr. W.J. Holland, curator of the Carnegie Museum, that's where things go to die, Pittsburgh, and his assistant, Dr. Peterson, a few days ago opened up a mound of the ancient race that inhabited this section and secured the skeleton of a man who, when in the flesh, was between 8 and 9 feet in height, says Greensburg, Pennsylvania Dispatch to the Philadelphia Inquirer. Okay, so this is the Carnegie Museum, famous Carnegie Museum. They're saying this, right? Which in the mainstream narrative today is not said. So this skeleton went to the Carnegie Museum and then it disappeared when this narrative needed to be shut off. Okay. This mound, which was originally about 100 feet long and more than 12 feet high, has been somewhat worn down by time. It is on the J.B. Seacrest Farm in South Huntington Township. Seacrest, again, he does everything. This farm has been in the Seacrest name for more than a century. The most interesting feature is the recent excavation was the mummified torso of the human body, which the experts figured was laid to rest at least 400 years ago. Portions of the bones dug up and the bones in the legs, Professor Peterson declares, are those of a person between 8 and 9 feet in height. The scientist figures that this skeleton was the framework of a person of the prehistoric race that inhabited this section before the American Indians. The torso and the portions of the big skeletons were shipped to the Carnegie Museum. Dr. Holland and Peterson supervised the explorations on the Secret Mound with the greatest of care. The curators believe the man whose skeleton they secured belonged to the mound builder class. The mound builders, Seacrest, out. So, I say all that, show you all that, and I'm going to do a lot more articles like this. Because giants are fun, man. Just thinking that there was big people in our past and we've been lied to about it. It's so much fun that I'm doing this. So, never would have thought I'd be doing this. But you start to think about it and you go, well, maybe that's how they built the Cahokia, Indian mounds in St. Louis or the, Moundville in Alabama. That was a huge structures. And then you start to go, well, how did the Greeks build all of their stuff? Straight marble, Look at the people down here, comparatively. Were they big too? Then you go to the Inca and Maya and, so on and so on. So we're just peeling back the onion slowly but surely. And I'm sorry if you are very well versed in all this kind of stuff. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I do question things, and I love to question things. And I hope y'all love to question things too, and that's what this platform is for. I'm not trying to be right or the smartest one in the room. That ain't gonna happen. I already know that's not gonna happen. But I'm opening this floor for the people that I know and for many others to just question the narrative, And after some of the stuff that's happened in our world, I can't see how you're not questioning the narrative now. But there's a lot of people that aren't, and that's okay. Maybe one day they'll wake up. But just let me know how this video is. If you want me to change something, you want me to do something different, you want more of it, you want less of it, let me know. I'll take it. All right? Love you guys.